Okay, so here we are back for video 6. And for those paying attention, no, this is the same screen, but it's changed. You are correct. I've added these 8 fields in here. And what these are is a way for us to track the scoring on the main event match screen. As data comes back in, either by the TCP/IP server or the file load options, you will see these columns filled in. This here, the 31, is our autonomous score. The 114 is the controlled score. And down here at the bottom, you get Red's total. So we can actually track when an event is complete. And let's go ahead and flag an event complete. Let's say this is 225 and 195. Okay. So we go ahead and flag that. This event, qualification event 1, is over. The total scores are shown up here. We know that red's the winner. And this little empty spot here is going to be when it's blue is the winner. You get their official scores at the top. And now you get our scores by our scouts, and they're going to be summed down here. Now, part of the idea here is that we want this number to be close. Exact would be awesome, but I don't think that would probably be a realistic belief. You just want to be pretty close. That way you're tracking with the real scores. Okay, so the other addition I have is this clear button. Under the option that the TCP/IP server is not available, or we have to pull it out of the app, then what you're going to have to do is collect data from the scouting units via the sneaker net and send somebody running around with a USB drive, plug it into the Raspberry Pis. Takes about a half second to download their data, bring it back to the base unit here, and then import them right here. When that happens, you'll see these 6 fields flip over to imported. Well, my thinking is you'll collect data more than one time a day. So it would be good to be able to track when you have or have not gotten a file from somebody. So that's what this is for. You send the file around 3 hours later. These are all saying that everything has been imported. You send it around again. You can hit the clear button. These will all go flip back from saying imported to be exported again. And then you'll know what files you have received on this round and what you haven't loaded. So that's what that's all about. Okay, now let's move on to some of the other important things I wanted to point out in this. I've mentioned a couple times about the passwords. So when you export data to the scouting units, their passwords are configured right here. Since you do this only once per event, you can change this password for every single event for each of your scouting units. You're not able to change this name here. That's a hard-coded, fixed in the database name. But here's where you set your passwords for each of the units. I would recommend actually making them the same all the way down, but I mean, that's up to you. So there's where passwords are set. You can lock these values up here. So that way you don't accidentally get them changed and then you spend half the event loading data into the wrong event, which would be pretty disastrous. So locking those down makes it a two-stage oops. So up to you whether you want to use it. All right, now the next thing I want to point out is all events. So you're looking at the Indiana State Championships, all events. So you're looking at all the events down here. But let's say you want to see where the Tech Hounds are playing. So if I select Tech Hounds, now I'm only looking at Tech Hounds events. So we could actually scroll through the Tech Hound events and see how they're doing and how they've scored and how they've fared. Let's see, another good thing to point out is we have, let's come back to our first event, qualification event, the scouting ranks. Now that we have data, we know Cyber Blue is in first place by total scores. Where the rest of these numbers come from is some hidden, I have no clue, SQL algorithm when they have more than one item at a value of 0. How does it put them in order? Well, that's a mystery to me too. But after you get scores in here for everybody, then you'll see this fare out pretty nicely. You can actually look at these values, how people are ranking based upon total autonomous, total controlled, average, or summed. But I need to throw in a word of caution that, know your data. If you've loaded data from your scouts, and let's pick on Cyber Blue here. Cyber Blue has played 5 events, and the rest of these teams have played 4 events. If you're looking at total points, well, goodness gracious, Cyber Blue is going to be way out ahead because you know what? They got one extra game being counted than the rest of these folks. So know your data. That's very important, which is my lead in to the analysis. And I'm going to go ahead and close this here and then do that one. Hey, I think that's a keeper.